Welcome to the MMA Fancast. My name's Luke Payson, and I'm always honored to have a first-time guest of the show. And this guest is a first-time guest of the show and a big-time name in MMA, and probably for many years to come. So I'm thrilled to have him on the show. Victor LiPari, welcome to the show.
Having me, Luke. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure having you on the show. You had an incredible fan outpouring at Brawl in the Berg 16 247 Fighting Championships, which was April 15th, a couple weeks ago. Sold out the entire arena at the Hollywood Casino at the Meadows. So let's just, so nice of you to come on the show. Let's just jump in there. What was it like to have that fan support your first time fighting, really right where you grew up? You're currently living in Vegas, made the trip in. Kind of tell us about how that all went.
I mean, it was exhilarating. It was awesome being at home, and it just felt really comfortable fighting at home. And all the support from all those people, I really did not expect that much support. After the fight, like it was just an incredible feeling to have. And I do want to real fast just like thank all of those people for coming out and supporting me, because the number of people that came out, and even the number of people, I think I had fourth highest pay-per-view out of the 32 fighters. So even the number of people that watched be there it was just amazing, amazing amount of support. But I broke the record, I believe, for ticket sales, and I think it was Palmer Worthy had the record before me, and I think Palmer was in the UFC, so like that's a pretty big feat.
It is. I mean, obviously, as a broadcaster, I'm always excited about every fight, the style matchups, the action. But eyes on a fight does matter, right? Like the greatest fight of all times needs to have eyes and fans and people excited about it. And when you sell the number of tickets you did and beat Kama's ticket record, that meant that there was just a ton of excitement and focus. And you also had an army. A black and red is obviously your color choice. You're wearing it right now. You had a shirt, Victor LiPari, black, and it was like the black and red army were everywhere. And then even when people weren't your fans, they look around in the stands and go, "Well, look at all these people," and then they become your fans because of all your fans influencing them. So it was really cool. When you got into the cage and looked out and saw a sea of the black and red, tell me how that felt, and then also explain where black and red, your color choice, came from.
So yeah, walking out, I couldn't even hear my walkout song. I couldn't even hear it. Listen hard, because there was I made a custom walkout. In the beginning it was "I'm Coming Home," and then it flipped my actual walkout song, kind of like, and when I started walking out, I could hardly hear anything. All the screaming, it was amazing. And then when I got in the cage, they said "in the red corner," and everybody just started going crazy. And I was like, I had to like lift my hands up and like soak in the energy. It was amazing. And he's just seeing all my shirts out there. Like, I had to get a bunch of shirts made. I think I made about 150 to 200 shirts. Sold them all beforehand, and everybody was wearing. So that was awesome. Black and red. So we originally were black and green when I was in. Like we like the green color, but then as going into pro, I thought that it was fitting to have red, because red is kind of an intimidating color, and I wanted to be a little bit more serious pro, and I wanted to, brand myself to where people would be like, "Oh yeah, like I like that color," or they think of me when they see that red circle. I wanted to kind of just brand myself and make it
Well, sure, and doing that, branding yourself shows that you're very intentional. You're very intentional. You're a fighter who had an incredible 6-1 amateur career, wrestled Division I, Clarion University of Pennsylvania. Obviously, brought a lot of fans into the sport. But being smart about being recognizable is really, really important. You're a flyweight, so it just comes to my mind that Henry Cejudo is fighting for the title now. It's going to be at 135, but we'll get back to your fight and kind of your experience in 247 for the first time. And I mean, but my brain went to that. So what's it like? And I think there should be. For many years, I think Dana White, maybe to create some drama, kept saying he was going to eliminate the flyweight division. And now flyweight and bantamweight are super exciting. So what's it like for you to kind of see that at the highest level, it's a very exciting division of flyweight and bantamweight, you know, depending on.
It is like, if it wasn't for, well, let's just go back to the Mighty Mouse trade, right? When they
Yes.
traded, that actually potentially saved the flyweight division. Meanwhile, Dana wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's that move because, Henry wins, and then he takes out T.J. Dillashaw,
Mhm.
and then and now we have Brandon Moreno's the first champion, I believe, champion, which is amazing. And now we have my buddy Amir Albazi. He's fighting Kaikar France, right? So I got to get back in there with him, help him get ready for that fight. He's fighting Kaikar France. He beats Kaikar, he gets to go fight whoever wins the Brandon Moreno fight. I know there's a title fight coming up. And then you have, like you said, Henry Cejudo is moving up to 35 to fight my boy Aljamain. So, and I know Henry Cejudo is one hell of an athlete. Like,
Oh,
all of the accomplishments that he and the achievements that he's had. But I'll tell you what, everybody is underestimating. Like, I see him in the gym all the time. He's so smart and works hard and he's strong. He's a big,
yeah, I was gonna say, I think just on the surface, obviously there's a lot of technical and the style matchup is super exciting. Um, as a former gold medalist, Henry Cejudo came into MMA kind of late, you know, comparatively, and obviously came a long way from losing to Mighty Mouse by knees to the head. Kind of sort of the worst way for his first title fight to go because he just got outstruck, out dominated on the feet, which is not where a wrestler necessarily. But here's what's interesting is then he comes back and he's a completely different fighter and he grows and um, but yeah, Aldermain, I think in my brain at least, and I don't know anything, but in my brain at least, he's a better size for 35. I mean, it doesn't mean that Cejudo couldn't kind of exact his game plan, but it seems at 135 that Aljo has just like all that skill set. He reminds me, and I've got to get this in because Ryan Milton, the owner of 247 Fighting Championships, always harasses me on how much I love um, GSP. So why not throw it out there right in the beginning? But he got that's when you think of GSP, he was sort of the perfect size to weight to height ratio of 170. Had a lot of muscle, but was also lean, but was also tall, but wasn't the tallest, but wasn't he was. And I'd say Aljo is right in there. He's that tall, lean, lot of muscle at 135. Not so tall that he doesn't have enough muscle, but not so short that he's a fire plug. So there's my GSP reference. So that way Ryan Milton's happy. So
that's a good reference. I thought of it like that, but yeah, I think Aljamain is just like the perfect size, and he's explosive too. Like, yeah, he's explosive, you know.
well, yeah, you need that explosivity. When if you go too skinny, sometimes you lose that because you get more sucked in. Let's talk about you training at Extreme Couture in Vegas, one of the most famous gyms, I would say, well known, obviously named after Randy Couture, who's a legend of a legend of a legend of a legend. So, how did you go from Pennsylvania? You grew up in Cannonsburg, and then you wrestled D1 in Pennsylvania for Clarion. What connect the dots for me at least, and for the listening audience that takes you from college to MMA and then training at Extreme Couture?
Well, I guess we'll just start when I was a kid. My dad picks me one day, you know, like, hey, I want to watch this with you. He had UFC one on VHS, right? This is VHS. Most people that are listening to this probably don't know what VHS is anymore.
We know.
But we're watching UFC one, and I just fell in love with the sport. And I said it since I was a kid. I was like, I want to fight. I want to fight. In as I was getting older, my uncle was he wrestled alongside Kurt Angle. They were roommates, teammates on the team. Wanted to follow in my uncle's footsteps, so I went to Clarion. Well, after Clarion, after college wrestling, what are you going to do? So I want to life this whole time. You have professional wrestling, which I really wasn't about to do the fake stuff. You have Olympic wrestling, but that requires a lot of funding, the traveling expenses, all that stuff. I just didn't have, and I would have loved to. I would have loved to train the Olympic team, which I've actually gotten the opportunity to out here to get that shortly. And then you have MMA. I was like, well, my uncle lives in Vegas. I mean, let's go out to Vegas and start fighting. So I got lucky having Vegas. So that's how I got out here and started training. As far as the tours, I actually first we went to a bunch of gyms and we looked up everything and I ended up training at Hugo first. And that's where I met Kevin. This is the whole reason why I went to Rico at first because Kevin was always one of my favorite fighters.
Mm.
Played in college, UFC, Undisputed, 2009 and 2010. Always beat Kevin, beat the hell out of all my friends with him. And then when I finally got to train under Kevin, I called my buddy up right away. I was like, hey, you remember how I used to beat the crap out of you guys with Kevin? Well, he's beating the crap out of me right now. Like, it's awesome. And we became like family. I still talk to his wife to this day. Unfortunately, that took a toll on everybody, but his wife and son, you know, I, they support me all the time, all the time before my fights, after my fights. You can actually see on my Facebook comments or my comments on my fight comments all the time. They're just wonderful people. So, we did a lot of gym hopping at a certain point because gyms started closing down, especially during COVID. COVID kind of went to a mess. We did most of my garage, me and my two buddies. Ended up winning. I won two world amateur titles. My teammate won two amateur titles, and my other teammate won. So we had 5 titles between the three of us out of my garage. So I don't think it's really like Extreme Couture is a great name, and there's great, but it's honestly not the. But going there is awesome. You have two cases, you have tons of mat space, everything you need. You have world class coaching. I go a lot for mid work and sparring. We'll go to UFC Fit down the street. They have a mat room out there a lot. It's, UFC Performance Institute. Go there. That was a big part of my camp. Was actually at UFC Performance Institute. You're going with body, everything. All those guys rapping with us.
Well, I've always wondered with the UFC Performance Institute. You're in the fight capital of the world, being out there in Vegas. Obviously, all these different gyms. Clearly, our condolences to Rico and his family. It's great that you have that connection. I think sports, particularly mixed martial arts, brings a family. Wrestling, any of those combative sports, brings a family together. Not a blood family, but like a battle family in an incredible way. I just assumed, so I really enjoy having you on the show. I just assumed that the UFC Fight Institute was some type of like badged in system, only if you're a UFC fighter. You're likely a future UFC fighter, but right now you're not. So, what's it like? Like, what qualification do you have to go to be able to go and train at the PI, as they call it, Performance Institute? Clearly, you are, and you're not on the roster. So, how does that work?
The guys that are in the UFC, they'll get a time for the match, the game, something for like we'll run a whole class there that are full of guys from Bellator guys, UFC guys, whoever's here. Like Bellator, Passion Bellator, they're in our grappling class a lot. Around here, Bozzy, Sterling, guys, the UFC guys, they'll at the time, each one of those guys gets like about 2 or 3 types of and they have a huge security thing. So you pull up, security guard asks who you are, who you're with, time you're supposed to be here. They confirm it. You go in. It's actually pretty secure. They just let everybody in. But once it's such an amazing, it's
Well, it looks like Victor LiPari is having some technical difficulties. We'll keep it running and see if he can jump back on. Looks like he was also having some audio difficulties. I'm hoping he can clear those up by jumping back in. We will have to wait and see. As always, please like and subscribe to the MMA Fancast channel on YouTube, and also click the like or follow button on the Facebook page as well. That would be wonderful. You've been listening to Luke Basin for MMA Fancast with Victor LiPari, who recently had a big-time fight at a sold-out, packed arena at the Hollywood Casino at the Meadows for 247 Fighting Championships, which really is just putting on the highest caliber MMA in the Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania area, and was recently featured. The whole card was featured on 22 The Point a week after, which even brought a ton of new eyes to it. So it's been really incredible to see what 247 and the reach of fighters such as Victor LiPari, a local guy, but training in Vegas, coming in for it. We've had fighters on 247 from all over the place. It doesn't look like Victor LiPari is coming back on at this point. So I guess this will be me saying this is probably part 1 of the Victor LiPari interview. We will likely be doing a part 2. So stay tuned. Appreciate everyone as always. And yeah, this is Luke Payson doing a wrap for MMA Fancast for Victor LiPari, part 1.